Good afternoon. This is today's project. Now, as you know, I'm a fan of making pantry transmitters from as few components as absolutely possible. I do believe that there's no point in having excessive amounts of components, pulling away at your stocks and maybe not getting a particularly wonderful result. So this is another Rod Pentode how can we put, I was going to say project, but more likely I would like to say a lash up. So today what we are using is a 1ZH37B. This is the dual grid type Rod Pentode. It has a 59 milliamp heater and is a little bit more powerful than the 1J24As that I've used in the past. Now the circuit is virtually identical to the 1J24A pantry transmitter I made before. So far I have no proper loading on the anode for this. There's no pi tank coil, so there probably is some harmonics. In fact there is a bit of second harmonic off it. The crystal is just under 1600 kilohertz, 1590 something or other if I remember rightly. I can't remember offhand, I've got a memory like a hen. So we're using that. Basically what we're using is HT 75 volts or so. What we got, say 378 so we've got 8 PP3s, 72 odd volts. So basically what we're using is that and an NIMH battery, 2800 milliamp hour one here. Again, it follows the simple way I did it before. There's a choke on the anode going to HT, there's another choke on the G2 going down to the crystal, back down to the grid, and the grid is going to ground with a 1 meg ohm resistor. The grid on the other grid is the audio input, as we can see from this transformer here, wired upside down and inside out. But as I say, this is just a lash up to see if it would work. There's a 220k there resistor that is giving me a little bit more negative voltage for the bias, and the battery is correctly wired with the negative going to the filament minus and the positive going to the filament plus. So there's always a little bias that way as well, of course. Don't forget with Rod Pentode's doing it that way. So we are getting some bias. So it needs a little bit more, because what's happening is it tends to clip a little bit. When you're looking at the RF waveform, the RF waveform is fine at the bottom, but on the top it's a bit low. Now I think what we also need to do is we need to alter the bias a little bit on the oscillator as well. I think that would help things as well, because what's happening is if we have the bias, I believe, on these valves should be roughly equal on the two different control grids, but in this case at this time it isn't, so we really need to get that sorted out. So that's another little addition we've got, but in actual fact it's working well. We need to build a pi tank coil. We need to do this right so as we lose any second harmonics, and it doesn't require very much in the way of an antenna, even on this very simple circuit, to go from the shed to the house, which is roughly about 11 to 12 meters away from the house. And my little Robert's radio's crackling a little bit. This is what I'm using as a monitor. Okay, so I'll put it on. I'm not going to go through all the stuff with the scope at this point. We'll do that some other day, once we've completed the job and we've got to my satisfaction that it is clean and we don't have distortion. I have to say it modulates far better than the 1J24As. The 1J24As was 55–60%, and then we got distortion, but we're getting about 80–85% now. So anyway, I'll put it on. Where's the volume? There we go. There you go. That's the background noise you can hear. That's the background noise from it. Anyway, we'll turn that down because it's quite loud when we put it on. This is just a track, a musical track. I'll change the track. This one is a Swahili one, actually. It's one of my wife's, and it's got quite a lot of bass in it.
Oh, I wish ningemwona Bwana Yesu, nipige magoti, nimpongeze kwa kazi zake.
So there we go. What else we got? There's another one I've got there I can't put on because it's copyrighted. This is the issue. To be fair with YouTube, copyright stuff, they can take the stuff off. So that track's by a guy called Madi Haddad, and it's open source, so it's not a problem. I've already asked him, and he says it's fine. So okay, so this is it. You mean it's definitely more powerful than the 1J24 Rod Pentode. The audio quality is better, and the modulation, the valve will quite happily accept more modulation than the 1J24A did. Now don't get me wrong, the 1J24A works fine in most circumstances, but if you really do want to push it, the audio input, this is probably the way to go. So far the component count is very low. If we include the transformer, the valve and everything else, well, we'll not include the batteries, including the little grid bias one, which is just one of those cells. We have 1, 2, 3, no, we don't count that capacitor is disconnected, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 components altogether on that circuit. And I have to say it works better than the mini mod. I have a mini mod and I can compare the two, and unfortunately the mini mod has issues with noise and hiss, which this doesn't, and it sounds an awful lot better than the mini mod does. Don't get me wrong, the mini mod does, and it's a nice enough little project to make, but it's got a higher component count as well, and this is more fun. To be fair, it is. You know, the battery, I would say the battery life is going to be very good. Current consumption is very low, it's only about 2 milliamps, so it's not going to flatten the batteries for long. The only one that will need to be charged up every now and again is the NIMH on the filaments. So there we go. Anyway, I'll give you another little blast of this music and then we'll call it a day on that one, okay? Go. Okay, that's it. It also works on the little the other little radio here. This thing that I made up. The only thing is I don't have the speaker on it. You probably can't hear it. You might be able to. I don't know, the headphones. No, but it goes all the way. It goes all the way into the house, and it's quite audible in there. And the aerial is, incidentally, that's the cable running out of the radio transmitter, well, the pantry transmitter. That's the cable up here, and it's just hooked onto the top of the shed, onto this Dexion. That's just support for the roof. That's all that is. So that's probably acting as a bit of an antenna as well. So that's it. That's it. That's how it's going. Okay, guys, thanks for looking. I'll publish the circuit on the Golborne Radio forum once the development work is completed, and I'm happy with it, so I'll post it up there so we can see how this is bare bones at the moment, and this is just in the development stage, and once this is completed it will be done a lot better. So hopefully we'll be able to come back with a video in maybe a week or two and you'll see the end result. Okay guys, thank you for looking. Bye for now. Bye bye.